Hey, we're Camillo and Anouk and we converted Dakar, our 4x4 Mitsubishi Pajero, into a camper. Over the next few months we're going to travel along the Balkans and head south towards Greece, before the winter catches us. We started our journey in late summer and drove from Germany to Croatia and are now heading towards Bosnia Herzegovina and Montenegro.
So we enter Bosnia Herzegovina after our first 2 weeks of our journey. It's the first time we leave the EU and we didn't expect it, but you can feel how different Bosnia is from other countries. Culturally it's very interesting. Today the country is mostly home to 3 main ethnic groups and religions. The Bosniaks are the largest group, with about 50% of the population being Muslims. The Serbs are the second largest, being mostly Christian Orthodox. And the Catholic Croats are the third largest. So street signs in Bosnia are written in Latin and Cyrillic letters, but there are also quite a few Arabic writings in shop windows, on advertising boards and handwritten. Directly after entering the country, we were greeted by people who read our Arabic writing on Dakar. We didn't expect this so early on our journey. Not 3 countries after leaving Germany, not on our first 800 kilometers away from home. So we slowly make our way towards Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia. We really enjoy the drive, mesmerized by the differentness. On our way to Sarajevo, we fill up our water tank at a spring for the first time on our journey.
In Sarajevo, we find a beautiful camp spot above the city. Camillo is caught by a fever, so on the first day I visit Sarajevo on my own. We urgently need to buy a local SIM card to have internet again, here out of the EU. We also need to change money into Bosnian convertible mark, so I take the cable car down into the city alone. Otherwise we relax. It rains a lot and Camillo slowly recovers from the flu. We cook during the rain pauses, read, edit and research places. The following days we visit the city together. We stroll around the streets and take part in a free walking tour. The streets are small and have an oriental flair. There are many little shops selling traditional craftsmanship like copperwork. There's the smell of strong Bosnian coffee, sugar-sweet baklava and burek in the streets. Multiple melodies of the Muslim call to prayer echoing through the city. There are cities you fall in love with on first sight, and for me Sarajevo was definitely one of them. Sarajevo is also called Jerusalem of Europe, due to there being so many religions peacefully living together. There are beautiful mosques directly next to Catholic churches and synagogues. Sarajevo is also full of history, marked by the First Yugoslav War, also known as the Bosnian War, that only ended in 1995. The dark history is still very present. Most of the people here, older than 30, felt the war firsthand. Our tour guide spoke really openly about this dark time and also about the remaining conflicts nowadays. Many houses in Bosnia and all around are still marked by bullet holes. In Sarajevo, the streets weren't just repaired after the war. Some bomb craters on the streets were filled with red color and are called Sarajevo roses. They look like roses losing petals in the wind. We stay 5 days at our little camp spot overlooking the city. We usually don't stay at one location for so long, but it was nice to get a feeling of the daily rhythm of the place. At what time the shepherd put her sheep out to graze, at what time the first cable cars above us start to drive, and the first people come walking past our spot to visit the mountain. In the evening, the muezzin calls as the red of the sky slowly fades to blue. The sheep return home, and the street lights in Sarajevo are switched on.
Sarajevo was part of the Olympic Winter Games in 1984, and there's an old bobsleigh track and an abandoned hotel complex we visit. Nowadays, these lost places are perfect for airsoft events. On a gloomy Sunday morning, we visit the hotel. There was an organized group of about 30 fully equipped people playing in the surrounding area and in the buildings.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Can't stay sober, looking over all their shoulders, like moving boulders just to get out of the home. It sucks, I've had enough, I don't wanna feel the stuck under the rug, all my problems that I shove. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear.
We drive to a high plateau, 1,300 meters above sea level. The endless street leads into the horizon. No limit for the eyes, no boundaries. The vastness, the emptiness, the freedom in landscape. Everything suddenly starts to become very calm. Everything before feels so crammed together, not enough space to breathe. How do people living here feel when they come to a city or to Germany? When every empty inch is an agricultural field, every property has a boundary, and every forest has its limits.
It got really chilly and windy during the night, so we decide to leave again. We have a lot of fun driving through the puddles. But as you can hear, our drive belts loosened again and make this horrible squeaking sound, so we decide to stop and tighten them in the icy weather.
Ja, das ist viel besser.
On we go on shortcuts through the mountains and forests leading back down again. Bosnia is the first country we encounter in which gas stations run out of diesel or petrol and have a zero on the price board. Yes, of course, that's possible, but we've never seen anything like that in Germany. Gas stations seem self-refilling. We stay over Mostar, a very touristy place. While on a walk, we find a crazy spot that looks like it's in the middle of the desert from the right perspective. We find wild growing pomegranates for the first time in our life and are super excited to try them for breakfast.
following day, we visit a place with really old buildings from the Ottoman Empire. Almost 400 years, the Muslim Turks rule over Bosnia and the surrounding areas and influence religion, day-to-day life and architecture all over the Balkans. Nowadays, there are still mosques, bridges and normal buildings in this beautiful Oriental style.
Shortly before the border between Bosnia and a peninsula of Croatia, we search for a sleeping spot on a dirt track near the main road. Next to the dirt road we start to see the landmine danger signs we've read about. During the Bosnian War, landmines were hidden all over Croatia and Bosnia. After the war there were huge demining projects, some of them also funded by the EU. But there are still regions that are full of mines, especially near the borders. Landslides, earthquakes and floods reveal the war relics every few years, increasing the danger again each time. Bosnia is reported to be one of the countries with the most uncleared landmines on its territory. It's estimated that there are still 120,000 undiscovered mines. After the war, almost 700 people died due to landmines. The number has drastically gone down. In 2019, for example, there was only one death, but the risk is still present.
So we don't leave the road, not even to pee. At the moment we're at a quite strange place. We're still in Bosnia, and we're near the Croatian border, so you can see the ocean over there. You can't really see it, it's too foggy today. So the border's somewhere like over there. So the wild strange thing about this place is, due to being close to the Croatian border, here are still quite many landmines. So over here we've got one of the signs. I find it a little eerie, they're all around just the path, it's just a usual normal path. It's not used so often, the path. The problem is directly next to the path, just a few meters next to the path. Most of the landmines were hidden, so it's dangerous to leave the path just a few meters. Yup, we'll just be super careful. The next day we head to the border and faced a problem. We didn't register at a police station in Bosnia after entering the country, and this is obligatory in many Balkan countries, as we later realize. So the border official has to give us a €110 fine, but we only have €7 cash in convertible mark, so she doesn't really know what to do with us. She speaks with her superior, and after a long while of waiting, she says we can just leave, but should pay her a thank you by giving her money for dinner. She types in Google Translator that we should hand the money over in our car documents, so the video surveillance doesn't see it. We give her €15 and the matter is settled. We leave the border shocked, but grateful we didn't have to pay the full amount. We didn't expect this way of settling problems already at this point of our journey, but okay.
On the first day, Dubrovnik is covered in fog and it rains a lot. The next day we have wonderful weather and take a look at the city that's so hyped since they filmed Game of Thrones here.
On our way towards Montenegro, we stop at an abandoned hotel complex, built under the supervision of Tito in the 60s. Josip Broz Tito was head of state during the Yugoslavian era, and built these 5 hotels for military officers, the upper class, and the rich and famous from all over the world. He loved to invite superstars like actors and singers to his beautiful Yugoslavia, and to spend time with them chatting, partying and relaxing in absolute luxury. These now abandoned buildings are so fascinating. They tell stories of an era long ago that we shall never experience at first hand. A few decades ago, these were multi-million euro projects. Now they stand there, forgotten in time, maybe one of the many reasons why we feel so mesmerized by such places. One of the hotels was used to film a British World War II film set in France, so we couldn't have a look around the hotel, but we could catch a glimpse of the film set from above.
Okay, the word explosions, the will become time, which is, and 3, 2, 1, explosion! Ready, action!
Before crossing the border to Montenegro, we want to fill up our water tank, but our pump breaks and we find sand at the bottom of the tank. You remember the last time we filled up water? Well, the spring water must have had little sand grains in it. It's quite a problem because that means we can't use our filter and need to have all our water in bottles. That's exactly what we wanted to prevent by having a tank. So we'd look at the problem and make some phone calls and find a fast solution.
Momentan sind die Wartezeiten länger, als Sie von uns gewohnt sind. Wir entschuldigen uns für die Unannehmlichkeiten. Wir werden unser Bestes tun, um Ihren Anruf so schnell wie möglich zu beantworten.
Okay. Es wären ja rein theoretisch einfach höhere Versandkosten, oder?
Well, we finally have the possibility to properly wash our hair. At the border to Montenegro, we meet 3 German guys with their Land Rover Defenders. We ask them where they are heading and if they would like to travel together at some point, so we exchange numbers. Our first mission in Montenegro is to try and find a new pump, register at a police station and buy a local SIM card so we have internet access again. Well, after a whole stressful afternoon of searching, we give up on finding a pump in a store and stay at a campsite because apparently only they can register you at a police station.
The following day, Tino, Lewis and Chris pass by with their Defenders at the supermarket we parked at. They recognize their car, pull over and wait for us. Meeting 120 kilometers later by coincidence sounds so crazy. That must be the sign for something great to happen, and it absolutely was. So this is how an adventure began. It is already late noon, so we first head towards a beautiful camp spot directly up the beach to spend our first night.
Our plan is to drive a 3-day off-road trek through the beautiful mountains of Montenegro. So the following day we leave the ocean behind and head towards the inland. We stop at a blue river that runs through rocks. As the mountains come closer, the streets get even more stony and desolate. The nature around us starts to become ever more wild and beautiful. Huge mountain chains emerge. Our 3 cars slowly pave their way up winding mountain pass roads.
Mit Dieselpartikel könnte ordentlich stinken, wenn die bergab fahren oder in der geringen Menge fahren. Von daher. Ja, kann gut sein, dass du dann irgendwie aufstiegst. Ich will mal kurz anmerken, die GoPro ist immer noch da. Das habe ich auch mit Verwunderung festgestellt.
At the evening we reach a mountain lake that will be our camp spot for the night. Louis chops some wood and we make a fire and cook for us 5.
Sehr schön. Der ist aber tatsächlich noch ziemlich frisch.
The night so high up in the mountains turns out to be icy cold, and the next morning condensation water from breathing freezes on the glass from inside. Don't ask me how Lewis and Chris survived the night in their rooftop tent, but they did. After packing everything and eating breakfast, we continue our trek through the mountains.
Weil das sieht ganz schön ausgelassen aus.
At some point in the forest we have to cross a river. That's usually no big problem, but there was a lot of rain the week before and a landslide made the riverbank difficult to access. The 2 defenders with their ground clearance easily passed the river crossing within a few minutes, but Dakar has his difficulties at that point.
Was mit dem auf? Bisschen in die Richtung lenken. Okay. Ja. Nur die Anhängerkupplung. Nur die Hängerkupplung.
Ja, dann Oh shit.
Mehr als die Hängerkupplung. Mehr als die Hängerkupplung.
Mehr als die Hängerkupplung. Shit.
Stein hat sich eingehakt.
Oh fuck. Ja, okay. Warte.
Wir müssen aber rückwärts.
Bisschen rückwärts noch. Mike, hast du das Tilo? Ja, einen Ticken noch?
Ja, ein bisschen noch.
Ja?
Rausgezogen hat.
Ah ja. Ich hab Spaß.
Sehr gut.
Ja, du kannst noch. Geht immer noch.
Alles gut, schön.
Weiter. Geht weiter. Kannst du.
We don't leave this river crossing without a little damage, but the tear is later repaired with cable ties and perfectly fine. We're happy it was only the plastic bumper trim and nothing crucial. There was a point while crossing that was really nerve-wracking, but we've made it. In the evening we set up camp next to a mountain stream, make a fire and cook a nice warm supper. This time Nouki takes a hot stone wrapped in an old cloth from the fireplace into bed, which warms our feet until early next morning.
And the next morning we say goodbye to our new friends and continue north on our own. It's strange to be alone again after travelling in a group for a while, but our next plan is to cross the Dormitor National Park and drive towards Serbia. We pass by a beautiful hanging bridge over the Taro River, and later on pass the Tara Bridge, crossing one of Europe's longest and deepest gorges. We cross the border to Serbia on a rainy Monday. It should rain continuously for the complete next week, but luckily we stay in an apartment. I'll have my period and it will be nice to have some more space, wanting water and a big bed for a while. But that's for the next video. Hope you enjoyed, see you soon.